Hi, I'm Jason.
And I'm Kirk.
And welcome to part 2 of a conversation about creating contagious culture. Part 1, right? We set the foundation for herding tigers.
Yeah, you need two elements in a healthy culture. You need a sense of safety and you need a sense of purpose that happens in your culture.
Right. We also talked about making great salsa and the importance of creating a culture that people want to be a part of, a contagious culture. They don't just want to be a part of. They don't just enjoy working there. They don't just enjoy making the thing that you guys are making together. They even want to invite their friends in on that kind of party.
And that's where the power is.
That's right. So we hit core value number 1. It's about people, foundational.
And that is the foundation. All of the rest of the core values is kind of playing out how we live that out. How do we build upon that foundation of this is about people? So our second core value is gratitude is our operating system. That it is so foundational the way we operate that we practice that habit in every meeting.
Right. And it opens up our brain. It gets us into the creative part of our brain. And you were mentioning that it sets us scientifically up to be empathetic.
Absolutely. And so our third core value is empathetic honesty. Now, we are a communication company. We help people communicate, organizations communicate. And we think that empathy is, in fact, the foundation for all effective communication.
Yeah, I think if you took the entire conversation about healthy communication and boiled it down to one word, it would be empathy. Are we willing to do the difficult work to think and feel like they may think or feel? And that works whether we're talking about our spouse or our children or our neighbors or those that we're leading on our teams, or if you get into the marketing conversation, it's the same principles about empathy, but we call it internally at ArtSpeak, our core value is empathetic honesty, because it's not just empathy. We also have sometimes we have some confronting to do. There's a challenge, right? We talked about the culture that we're creating is both a place of trust, but also challenge. And empathy builds trust, but sometimes honesty challenges.
Absolutely. In fact, if you don't pair it with honesty, you can use empathy to manipulate people.
Right. Empathy without honesty would be manipulation. I think honesty without empathy, that would be like dangerous, right? That would be
cruelty.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that honesty comes in lots of different contexts. In the work that we do, when we're trying to communicate with people outside, we want to understand their hopes and fears and dreams, but then we want to tell them the truth in that context. We don't want to manipulate them. But when we're working with other people on the team, we also want to do that. And there's two ways that you could go astray here. You could practice that empathy and climb inside their head and feel that so much that you then don't speak the truth. You don't set your own boundary. You don't say, hey, this happened, this was a problem, and we need to address it together. You can hold back from that. So you've got to first go and understand what's going on in their head, and then you're going to speak the truth into that situation.
Yeah, I love it. I think it sets up, when you're in a culture that speaks the truth in love, right? You know that you are in a place that you can trust that if something's not okay, you're going to be told it's not okay. That's the honesty part. But you're going to be told it's not okay in a way that says, I understand you're probably going through this, and this is the difficulty. Maybe even tell me more about how difficult it is and how we can overcome this real obstacle together.
This sets up a context where instead of creating a situation where it's the other person who is the problem, you create a situation where the problem is the problem and you and that other person can come together to solve that problem. Because when you start with that empathy, which usually sounds like listening first, come in and, hey, tell me about this. What's going on? Let's ask some questions. Why did this happen? And you can understand that context and also validate the struggles that other person may have. Well, now you're saying we're on the same side.
Yeah.
And now we can identify, here's a problem. Let's be honest about that problem. Let's find a solution.
And it always starts there. I'm always forced to start with empathy, right? I can't mandate others start there. I have to start there. And but when I do, it sets a foundation up for an environment that people want to be a part of. I think we could do an entire episode just on empathy and how it plays out in marketing, how it plays out in our communication patterns, whether it's with our marriages or in our marketing or in our leadership. There's room for it. This conversation shouldn't go away. But I do think it sets a foundation also for kind of personal confidence, which takes us right into our next core value. You can see how all of these build on one another. That next core value being confident humility. Now, those sound like oxymorons, right? Those sound like, is that what that is?
Sure.
Right? It sounds like something that, two things that shouldn't go together, confidence and humility.
But the reality is they are not two ends of one spectrum.
It's good.
And in fact, I would say that one is required for the other. Because when we're talking about confidence, we're not talking about pride. Pride is a comparison. It says, I am better than that other person, or that other person is better than me. But when we talk about confidence, basically it comes down to this one idea. Confidence says, I have value.
It's good.
Humility says, you have value. And so it's not a comparison. Humility in this context, we're not talking about thinking less of yourself. I don't think that's true humility. Humility just recognizes that everyone you meet also has value. And so now it's not about a comparison. It's not about, am I better than or less than someone else? I have value. And so as a habit then, we're going to share that value and we're going to receive that value from others.
Yeah, it's not that cocky arrogance, right? Which is like when you see that flexed, and you'll see that you see it in junior high boys. And I have a theory that no one really ever matures beyond high school. So you'll see it in your neighborhood. You'll see it you'll see it played out in the business world and even in the church world. You'll see people that they've just got this arrogance about themselves. The arrogance is actually not what we're talking. It's not confidence. People flex arrogance when they're actually internally feeling very not confident.
Yeah.
So if you understand the value that you bring, if you have the clarity on who you are and the value that you bring, all of a sudden you can have this calm confidence that's humble enough to say, I bet you have value too. So I love what you said there. I have value and you have value. How does this play out among us? And I've got some ideas, but I know, because I know it's a big part of our culture and it can be a big part of those that are watching.
Yeah, so it means that we have a feedback process that everybody goes through, and that means we're going to share our work even before it's finished. And it takes some confidence to do that. It takes some confidence to show, hey, this is a rough draft here, but I need some feedback. I need that value from someone else. And it also attributes the value for everyone to come in and share that perspective. Maybe I'm not an expert in this thing, but this is what I see in it. This is what I hear from. I'm going to share that perspective. What that works out to is collaboration.
Collaboration, I like it.
That we think we work better when we're all in this together. We're all working together, but that means we have to share that value from our end, and we have to be willing to listen to the other perspectives and receive that feedback.
Right. I don't think we've created utopia yet. We're working on it, but you get into that. But man, more can happen collaboratively than can happen by ourselves. In fact, we've been talking a lot about where that genius comes from, where that spark of creativity, where innovation comes from. I'll tell you, more can happen when you're in an environment with other creatives, right? When you're working together. I mean, the Bible talks about, the whole thing being built up by what? Not by the gifts of one person or the insight of one person, but by all of the different abilities that everyone brings to the table. That's collaboration. That takes confidence and humility.
Absolutely. And that collaboration is where those innovations happen. We have this idea of the lone genius who creates some great new thing, but that is a tiny number compared to the number of innovations that happen in the context of creatives being willing to collaborate together.
That's good. Where Good Ideas Come From. So we'll give a shout out. That's the book. I can't remember the author right now, so we'll have to drop that image or picture on the screen. or dub over right now. Kirk, we've talked about confident humility. You talk about our next core value is even more of a juxtaposition of ideas, and it's imperfect excellence.
I come to this conversation as a recovering perfectionist. And I know that early in my creative journey, I would in any project, I would get to the end of it and I would second guess everything. And I'd like, I need to push it a little further. And I would spend double the amount of time over again just to push it that last, 5% of the way. But what I've realized since then is that drive for perfection in a project, that isn't about serving someone else. It's about my pride or my insecurity. Perfectionism is about me.
Yeah.
But for us, when we say excellence, we're talking about serving someone else. We're talking about fulfilling the purpose of this project.
I love that because I've heard, a pushback from having excellence in core values because it comes across like it needs to be perfect. So I love that we're qualifying excellence with the word imperfect, but really getting into the heart of the motivation being, this is about serving others. Perfectionism is about me. Excellence, serving well, is about others. How does this play out among us?
Yeah, so this means that we're going to recognize that all of us are also imperfect, that we are striving for that excellence and serving others, but we're going to make mistakes along the way. And to recognize that and say, one, that's okay. It's okay to make a mistake. And that's part of that safety that we're creating here. But it also means we're going to, when there are problems, when there are mistakes, we are going to address them so that we can serve others better.
Right. And each of these values on this video, right, that we're talking about build up to the reality that we are all growing, which is our last core value, and that is persistent growth. Because you're a part now of a culture that says you can make a mistake here and learn from it, right? This is a safe place, but it's a place where you're going to be challenged. And so that then is like the perfect environment, right? No one goes into the gym and lifts all the weight, right? It's all, in fact, I've heard one joke, a weightlifter, he's real big. He's like, it never gets lighter. It never gets lighter because you keep putting more weight on yourself, right? Because you're always getting better. You always have room to grow. You're always going to be imperfect. We should still shoot for excellence, right? You should have confidence, but also humility. That all creates a great environment for persistent growth. We're getting stronger. We're getting better. We're headed somewhere together.
Yeah. And so to live that out, you have to resource that. You have to say, no, really, let's all grow together. And then give opportunity for that to happen. And I think that looks here at ArtSpeak, we'll have ArtSpeak University every week where we're taking half an hour every week for someone on the team to teach everyone else about something, some opportunity to grow.
Right, something that they do. A lot of people on your team specialize in their area. If you're the leader, hopefully you're not the expert on all areas in your organization. If you are, it's probably a small organization. I'm just going to call it what it is. But if you have empowered people, you've probably surrounded yourself with people that are even better at doing what they're doing than you would be doing it. So what we've created is an opportunity for those people to teach everyone else what it is that they're great at.
And to empower innovation. And I love it when there's opportunities where someone on the team has said, hey, I may not know about that yet, but I'm fascinated by it. I'm passionate about it. And if in circumstances where we can empower that and say, yeah, go do it. Go take that course. Come back and teach us. Or let's empower you to run in that direction. Maybe you fail at the beginning. Maybe it doesn't work at the beginning. But we still love to empower opportunities for people to grow in specific ways.
On a professional plane, for sure, right? Like what we're talking about, here's how to get better at doing those things. I think one of my favorite parts of our culture and a pattern that I've seen in other healthy growing cultures is on a personal plane. We're talking about persistently growing as humans, getting better. Here's the things that I'm doing right now to be healthier, to be happier. Here's something I'm trying. You may want to try it. And so we're constantly how to set better boundaries, how to work physical, financial, relational. These are, if you can grow, think about it, I'm persistently growing. I'm constantly getting healthier as a human because I'm a part of this culture, because I'm a part of this team. All of a sudden it starts communicating a message even to me that you don't just want something out of me. You want to pour something into me. Where else would I go to find a culture that wants me to be as healthy, wants me to be happy? So that now the value that you're offering to your team is this is a place for you to grow, right? This is a place for you to become more, to level up your whole life and your leadership and your skills. So that's a value exchange, right? And it's more. And there's studies out there about how people don't want to just work for money. Of course, we all need money. We want to have a viable financial life, but they want more than that. That's gonna end. The motivation ability of money has a very finite return. But man, if you can create a culture where people know that it's safe, they know that it's challenging, they know that they are valued, they know that they can grow here. Man, now you're talking about a culture that people want to be a part of.
They'll be in for the long haul, and they'll be a part of that mission and vision for a long time.
Right. So whether you're leading a dentist's office or an architecture firm or a bank or a local church or an outreach or you're just a thought leader and you want to make an impact as an influencer in your generation, then focus not just on what you're producing, on the final product, on the scientifically proven recipe for salsa, right? This is the best salsa ever invented. Okay, great. You've got great sauce. Don't forget that those who make the sauce are the real secret sauce. And every time one of them may walk out, there goes a key ingredient. All right. So now we're going to create a culture that's contagious. We're going to create a culture that they want to be a part of. I'm telling you, then, and honestly, only then are you going to create something that is sustainable, that is viable, that is going to outlast you. What I would love to hear, as those of you that have watched this, is what is working for you. Like, this is what is working for us. These are some of the principles that work for us. How have you phrased it? And even more importantly, not just the turn of phrase on the wall, but how are you taking and building your systems, and what habits are you putting into place to see other core values? What are your core values, and how are you working them into the culture, into the actual habits of your team? Because we're kind of junkies for how do we get better at this? How do we get better at creating culture? The beautiful thing is the culture creates culture. So how is your culture creating healthy culture? We'd love to hear. We'd love your feedback.
Send us a comment, DM, email. We'd love to hear from you.